welcome to this edition of Miles Ahead, and you join us here in a car park in Walton to look at this, the Caterham 420R. Now this sits in the middle of the Caterham range. You've got the 620 at the top, then the 420, then the 310, and the recently released 170. So this car starts at £36,990, and that will just get you a bag of parts, and you have to get the spanners and screwdrivers out yourself. They will build it for you for about £2,000, and this car is fitted with a number of optional extras which total £15,365, which bring the total of the model tested here to £52,355. Now there's a number of options on here. As we're going to have a walk around, just look at the exterior, have a quick look at the interior and take it out for a spin. I'll point out the sort of main optional extras on here and the ones I think that you would absolutely need. Now the most obvious optional extra to start with is the Corvette Accelerate yellow paintwork. That comes in at £2,000. You've also got the upgraded LED headlamps which come in at £850. Now if you're going to be using this car at night, I think they are an absolute must-have. We reviewed the 310R last year and it came on the standard headlamps. Yeah, it's not filling you with much confidence at night. These are much better. So yeah, if you are thinking of getting one of these, I would strongly recommend ticking that option. This being the R, it's quite a track focused edition. It's on 13-inch wheels rather than 15-inch wheels. As you can see in there as well, it's on upgraded 4-pot brakes. I think they're £850 as well. But again, if you're doing the track days, you're obviously going to want as much stopping power as you can possibly get hold of. The R pack brings in other things like limited slip diff and a lightweight flywheel. Also the exhaust running around the side here, this is polished. That's another feature of the R-Pack upgrade. Really nice when you're driving this because the exhaust is right beside you, so you can hear all the override and pops and bangs and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, everything about this car brings you close to the experience. Another track feature is the battery kill switch. That's 200 quid. Also useful if you don't want your car to get nicked, just take that with you. As we come around the back here, it's just classically Caterham. I mean, one of the things I love about these cars is that everything else around them has just grown and expanded. So the last car we reviewed was the Audi A8 long wheelbase. Now this car is a full 2 meters shorter than that. 2 meters. This is staggering. So this car is 3.35 meters long and 1.69 meters wide. And yeah, they've just remained true to that original Lotus 7 that was designed by Colin Chapman and his team back in the 60s, and it's just, yeah, that real nice old school vibe to this car. There's no safety assistance, there's no power steering, ABS, you don't even get self-cancelling indicators. It's just really raw, visceral driving experience. We'll have a quick look at the practicality element while we're at the back here. So another optional extra to note on this car is it's fitted with the windscreen and the hoods and side shields. That comes in at £1,600. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to want a windscreen, aren't you? So that's another option you're definitely going to be ticking. But so this has got the half roof and the full roof in there. The half roof just comes back to here and you strap it in. Useful for, you know, if you don't want the full roof on and you want a bit of air coming in, but there might be a bit of drizzle around. But even with those in there, sorry, come back in again. There's still quite a bit of space in here, actually. I don't remember there being this much space in the 620 or the 310R, but done a couple of trips to work in it and back, and you can fit a couple of bags in there as well. You can even get a bit of shopping in there with the roofs in. So yeah, it's a bit more practical than I remember them being. But that's enough for the walk around. Let's see what it's like inside. So this is the driving position of the Caterham 420R. Now the first thing you need to do when you get in this is put your Momo steering wheel back on. That's 300 quid, but it does make it quite a lot easier to get in and out of the car. Now I'm 6'2". If you're taller, another must-have option on this is the large chassis at £2,500. That's the SV. Yeah, because even with the large chassis, it is very useful to have the steering wheel because my knees keep knocking on against that. Other internal options, so you get the heated and padded carbon seats at £1,600. Very useful if you're using it. It's sort of spring, autumn, dare I say it, even winter. And the heated seats, they're just operated on the buttons down here. Another option to note, this is fitted with the 620 dash, and that also comes in at £1,000. So you get all the buttons across here, all the toggle switches for everything that you've got going there. So lights, windscreen washers. The windscreen is heated as well, so that's again useful if you're going to be using it on colder mornings. You've got fuel, temperature, oil, all that sort of stuff down here, and then the speedo and revs are over here. Yes, very snug our driving position in here. One of the things that Colin Chapman was always obsessed with was not having the gear stick more than a hand's width away from the steering wheel. Just everything is exactly where you want it in here. Only complaint really is driving this at night, because these lights along here, they illuminate to quite an alarming degree. I mean, like where you're driving along going, I could just wish I could just turn them down a little bit. But other than that, I mean, the driving experience is pretty much everything you'd expect of it. But talking of the driving experience, we should probably take it out on the road and see what it's like. So what's the Caterham 420R like out on the road? Well, have a listen to the exhaust. Really picks up quite nicely. So it's fitted with the 2-litre Ford Duratec engine, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated, so you get that really nice sound coming from it. And of course the exhaust is right beside you, so it's a very immersive experience. 0 to 60 ticked off in 3.8 seconds if you get all your gear changes right, and you get 210 brake horsepower and 210 newton meters of torque, there or thereabouts. So there's plenty of shove at all speeds. I mean, it's just not a slow car. And obviously it's because it's a manual, it's a 5-speed manual gearbox that it's mated to, you have to get your changes right. It is absolutely a car that you have to drive properly. You can't get away with, you know, there's no one to blame if the gear changes don't go right. So that's why I say it will do 0 to 60 in 3.8 if you get your changes right. The manual gearbox, I found it's very easy to use at slow speed and at high speed. It's when you're just trying to pull away in that medium speed there. I haven't quite got used to that yet. I think you need longer than a week with it. But, you know, just a change of getting used to the biting point. And it could be everything to do with the fact that I haven't even driven a manual car in months. So it's, like I mentioned earlier, it's a real recalibration getting back in one of these. And you're just back out in nature and you're just at one with the car. I mean, it's just such a lovely, lovely driving experience. Yeah, I hadn't driven one since last year, and that was a 620S, and I must admit I was slightly apprehensive that I wouldn't like this as much as the 620S, because I really, really love the 620S. I mean, it's just so much power, because that's got the turbocharged Ford Duratec engine, and just kicks out, well, you're getting 620 horsepower per tonne, where in this I think it's 375 brake horsepower per tonne. But it's what, 0.6 seconds slower to 60 than 620S, but to be honest, I don't think you really notice it. I mean, the 620S is definitely more of a lunatic's car, but this, I mean, saying it's calmer is doing it a bit of a disservice, because at no stage do you ever get behind the wheel of this car and think, oh yeah, it's a nice, calm, daily driver, because it's not, it's very eager. But I have used it to go to work, like I mentioned, using it to commute, and do you know what, it really wasn't that bad. You sort of get used to the speed bumps and that sort of thing. You obviously have to show them due respect, slow down, all of that sort of stuff. And you know, when you're going through the gear changes and all that sort of stuff, you know, you have to be able to give it a bit of heel and toe and all that sort of stuff if you're driving a bit more aggressively. But that's just one thing. I'm just trying to turn around here. Actually, another problem with it. The turning circle's terrible for a car that's this small, only 3.35 meters long. It doesn't half have a bad turning circle on it, but there we go. Right, we'll get out of here. So yeah, I was just trying to pull away at medium speed then. It's quite challenging to get the biting point spot on, but once you do, it's easy enough. Obviously, we're in the middle of a heat wave at the moment, and this car is absolutely made for these conditions. Out on the British B road, out in the British countryside, it is absolutely superb, and this is absolutely where this car was designed to excel, and it does. I mean, if it's no good in this setting, it's not going to be any good anywhere. And it's not a car that you have to drive quickly to enjoy either. You can slow the pace off, and you know, it's just such a rewarding car to drive because you're so involved. All the feedback through the chassis and the steering wheel, and you can see the front wheels working in front of you, and just you feel so at one with this car. It really is. It's exhausting to drive, but in the most fabulous of ways. You know, it takes up all your concentration to drive it when you go out and you're pushing it, driving it quickly, that you know, you get out afterwards and you know, you're knackered after driving this thing. It's absolutely great. I guess the only flaw is the environment, because every white bloke who works in finance is out riding his bike at the moment, and there's quite a few of them around this way in Surrey, so it can be a little bit difficult to find the space to open it up, but when you do, it's just, yeah, it's fantastic. I took it out through the Surrey Hills one evening in the week, and just amazing. You just feel at one with the surroundings and everything else, and that's really what it is. It's an experience car as much as anything else. Yeah, it's not that practical. You're not going to get the kids to school. You're even going to be questioning whether or not to do a weekend away in it, because you've got to make that tricky choice between luggage or taking a roof. We are still in England, so it's susceptible to precipitation at times. But yeah, every inch the experience car. But it's, you know, it does have that half roof. It does have the full roof. We put the doors on for this bit, so I was hoping that it might improve the sound. You know, I've only got cheap equipment, unfortunately, but it's, yeah, I love this car. I love the 620S. I found the 310R to be just lacking in a little bit of bite. It wasn't quite as quick, as snappy as you might want a Caterham to be. 620S completely addresses that, but that can be a bit of a nutter's car. This just sits really nicely in the middle. Yeah, it's got about 100 brake horsepower less than the 620, but I mean, do you really notice it? I'll be honest, no, you don't. I mean, you would if you get it out on track and all that sort of thing. The only real noticeable difference from a driving experience perspective, other than the speed between the 620S and this, the 420R, was the 620S was on the 15-inch wheels. This is on the 13s. Just having the 15s does just give you a little bit more confidence over speed bumps and that sort of thing. And this still doesn't have an uncomfortable ride, I must say. It's just you get to speed bumps and you are grimacing a little bit, questioning whether or not you're going to make it over them. But I mean, it's made it over all of them. There's been no problems at all. It's been an absolute pleasure to have one of these, as I knew it would be. You know, if you're bored of Caterhams, you're bored of cars, to butcher a Samuel Johnson quote about London. It's just, yeah, it's a wonderful place to be, sitting here buzzing through the countryside. And yeah, you can, this is obviously all set up for the track as well. I bet it is absolutely superb out on track. You'd just be out there doing lap after lap after lap. I mean, you'd only get bored when you get cramp in your hands. I think that would be about the extent of it. But yeah, like I say, you can take it out. You don't have to drive it like a lunatic to enjoy this car. And yeah, I think that's a really, really good thing about this car. And it just feels so true to its roots as well. It's unchanged since the 60s. And yeah, like I mentioned, all the other cars on the road have got massive around it. This has stayed small, attracts loads of positive attention. Everyone wants to talk to you about this car. It's just, yeah, it's a real talking point, and it's a really wonderful place to be. I've loved having it, as I knew I would, and there are definitely worse ways to part with £50,000+. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Also, please consider subscribing. We've got loads of videos on the channel, and we have got loads more coming up as well. So yeah, please hit the like button, please hit subscribe, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks.